I feel like we have to talk about one of the most streamed shows this month, which is Love Island USA, which really just a
Mhm.
font of discourse. It just creates so much conversation. How are you? So we have this season, it's almost over now.
Amen. So
And
excited about it being over almost.
I watch Love Island because it's my window into the very enigmatic culture of heterosexuality. And just like how they think. Because I realized when I watch these, I was like, I don't really surround myself with a lot of cis hetero people, especially men. And so I'm like, what are y'all thinking? How y'all doing? And it's always giving they're not okay in different ways, I feel.
Facts. Facts.
Um, it's feeling very much like this season is about kind of the gender wars and how
Mm.
do men show up in relationships? How do women show up with relationships? And the various kinds of wounds and traumas that brings up
Yes.
that become very difficult to deal with because everyone's just been so hurt before or conditioned improperly or like not well before or something. So we got a lot of kind of seeming fuckboys on this season. We got a lot of like
And some fuck
seeming
girls.
only.
What?
So yeah, what talk about
Yeah.
it a little bit.
This season, and I must preface this by like I am not a serial Love Island viewer. I think for a few reasons. I think the conceit of the show exists so far outside of my personal value system, but I think what drew me into this particular season, I was just curious. It was really pure curiosity, and it was also the discourse of just seeing how passionately people talk about this show. And I mean, I've seen every episode so far this season, and something that is glaring at me. I've been saying for years that when you reference gender wars, I always come back to I think what we're watching is the stark divide in gender expectations, right? You have generations, it's not even just this generation, generations of women have been raised and programmed to conflate our worth and value with being partnered and with being chosen and this idea of being picked specifically by a man, right? And men on the opposite end have grown up with this conditioning that like it's their responsibility to do the picking, right? um and this is like a departure I think from like years ago where it's like women were seen as like the prize and like if he who finds a wife finds a good thing and like all of these like cultural norms around like oh yeah like the man is supposed to hunt you and pursue you and court you. We have completely lost um certain aspects of courting culture, of I think just we're seeing a significant decline in marriage rates. We're seeing increase of divorce rates, and it has created a very intense imbalance in the heterosexual dating field. And then on top of that, you throw extremely young people who are still developing their brains, you know what I'm saying, and their worldview and their emotional intelligence and capacities. You throw them into a villa, and then it becomes the desirability Olympics. It becomes, the pick me World Cup. And it has been just really disheartening, I think, to see the level of insecurity that is running rampant in this villa. It has been hard to watch, the societal norms that we see every day in the real world just like on display like this. And to see like how low the bar really is right now. Like it's just like, wow, how did we get here? And not only that, how do we get out of it? You know what I mean? How do we take a turn towards reciprocity, towards respect, towards care, towards like true depth an intention in terms of like inserting that into romance over just the superficial, highly overly produced, oh yeah, y'all need to go make out right now. Oh, y'all need, this compulsive monogamy, this compulsive heteronormativity even. I'm like, there's been so much gay shit going on in that villa. And the fact that everyone still feels compelled to just like be a part of a heterosexual couple when there's clearly lots of fluid attraction and lots of fluid, activity going on is just beyond me.
I love that you're going here because I do feel like there is this kind of tension binary between the respectable monogamous couple and the necessity of TV drama that
Yes.
means that we got to have people making out with lots of people or cheating on each other's, right? And I do feel like a lot of reality dating shows are basically containers through which heterosexual people can explore polyamory safely. And
Facts.
that I feel
Well,
like safely, right? Like you hear people on the show say it, like, well, we're supposed to explore, we're supposed to talk to other people, pull people for chats, which is very Gemini. But
yes.
then it's like there's like an immediate offense to it as well, you
Yes,
know?
yes, yes. And there's this energy of like, this is the only place where we can explore our non-monogamous desires. And like, this is not seen as normal out in the real world. So I have to get it in here because it's like my free pass. But then we're seeing everyone who actually does explore, at least in this season, be ostracized, be criticized for it, basically be slut shamed. For exploring multiple connections. And the thing that I think has been really eating the girls up this season is this notion that if your person, the person that you're coupled up with is exploring someone else, that is an indication that they don't like you. They
Right.
can't, it is physically impossible for someone to like me and like Soul and like Amora. And I'm just like, what? Where's the nuance? Are we just acting like non-monogamy doesn't exist? And also we have to take into account these people have known each other for less than a month. And in the early days it was like y'all just met yesterday and you're already assigning meaning and assigning yourself into like this level of commitment that does not match the actual investment you have with this person. And that is the part that's like the most alarming to me. Because what? Like, why are we expecting spouse level behavior from a person you met 3 days ago? Like, what is going on?
What is going on? Because it's always been the framework of the show that, especially in the first
Yeah.
couple weeks, everybody explores. But it does seem like there's been, even in the discourse, like it seems like maybe Trinity and Bryce might take this or something this season, even though they coupled up very early, because it seems like people are applauding them for just sticking together
Right.
in like the purest way, as much as you can be pure on this show. Um, Whereas kind of everyone else has been exploring, and on both gender sides, people have been judged. Kenzie's been judged
Yes.
for talking to multiple guys and showing interest in multiple guys. And of course,
Mm-hmm.
the men, they always are, but, and, men are the worst offenders in this in real life. So that makes a lot of sense. Um, and it seems like this season, especially the men of color, just none of them have left unscathed. They picked the
Ciao.
worst black men to platform this season. Just the most kind of like base level. I think people aren't having deep conversations, right? And that's partially the tension too. It's like y'all expecting this
Yes.
intimacy, but we're looking at these conversations and they're not that deep actually. Like
They're
y'all don't really
not.
know how to be curious with each other and actually
Yes.
get to levels of like, who are you as a person? So I actually know if I'm for you. And that makes
Right.
me think y'all aren't actually, none of y'all are in this for the right reasons. You're all in this to increase your Instagram followings.
Yes. And my question becomes, how can you be in it for the right reasons when there's a $100,000 cash prize attached to winning this? How can you be in it for the right reasons when, like, everyone has watched the show before. They know how it works. And it feels like everyone is kind of in it for this end game to like just be in a couple by the end of it versus actually finding a connection that is compatible and that makes sense for who they are. And again, I think this is where the accountability for me comes. I want to hold the producers of Love Island USA accountable because I really do think this issue is embedded in the fabric, in the DNA of this show. And those poor babies, you know what I'm saying? Like, I honestly have a lot of empathy for them. It's like, y'all are getting thrown into the lion's den on national television, international, really. You know what I'm saying? Like, everybody in the world can watch this. And there's there seems to be no regard for people's mental health, no regard for like actually developing people's like communication skills and emotional skills. And to your point, I've noticed so many of the conversations and around like people feeling like KC needs to be held accountable, right? For quote unquote disrespecting Anaya and Sincere. The biggest villain of this season to me is Sincere and Zach. You know what I'm saying? With like a little bit of Bryce thrown in there. But it's like there are I feel like there are not there so many of the conversations around, oh my God, do you want to explore? Do you want to be open? Started to center around coddling an insecure person's feelings versus actually getting into people's desires and both parties feeling truly safe and comfortable and secure enough to one be in touch with their own desires and then be able to communicate it to someone that they care about and that they want to explore. And it seems like a lot of the men kind of erred on the side of, oh, my girl is being a little bit insecure, so let me just reassure her and tell her that I don't want to explore, even when I obviously do and am exploring. And I think that's really been, I think, the core sin, I guess, that people are calling out this season is like that bait and switch, that snake like behavior. But I'm really reading it as people not wanting to hurt people's feelings, but then hurting them anyway because you weren't honest, you know. Yeah.
There's this perfect storm of what some people might be calling kind of like Gen Z, younger millennial conflict aversion culture of like
Yep.
they've seen so much hate and tension online, like they don't want to like offend anyone. They're afraid of getting canceled, they're afraid of getting called out, they're afraid of, you know, causing drama or whatever. And the producers being like, okay, actually we're going to amp up the drama this season and we're going to show y'all clips that we've been recording of y'all saying things or whatever,
Mm,
doing things, and really triggering the girls, right? Which in some ways
truly.
can be helpful for getting people to have honest conversations, but not helping them through that. And look, it's reality television. You've produced reality television.
I
You got
have.
to do it for the drama. They're going to do it for the coin, right? Peacock is going to do it for the coin.
Well, okay, I actually have a lot of thoughts about this as someone who has produced reality TV. My foray into this was executive producing the Emmy award winning Watch Out for the Big Girls on Amazon Prime, right? It is my personal philosophy that manufactured drama is not necessary for entertainment and for engaging storytelling. I believe that it is 100% possible to tell captivating stories without emotionally manipulating people and without overproducing dramatic moments. That's just my own practice, you know what I'm saying? And one of the issues I have with this season is specifically related to when I guess like the first time the producers brought in the footage of when the boys, you know, went to Casa and the girls got to see that go down. On one end, obviously it was entertaining, right? And the girls did need a wake up call because they were all tripping straight up. You know what I'm saying? They were being loyal to them boys that was not even considering them in the same regard. So fair. My issue comes in when it's like, why wasn't it balanced? You know what I'm saying? If the girls got to see secret footage of the boys doing their thing at Casa, why didn't the boys also receive some level of insight into what was happening with the girls at Casa, because what ended up happening is the girls, that them even enjoying themselves at Casa was a direct result of them basically retaliating against their men, because they were like, oh, well, y'all are having a good time. Now I'm going to have a good time. And it was like, I would have much rather seen the girls have a good time because they wanted to have a good time, not because they feel like they got to get one up on their man. And then it created a toxic environment for when the guys did return back to the villa. Now the girls are on level 3,000 and the guys have no idea that they've even seen this footage. And that became the piece where it's like, y'all are literally, I mean, I guess the machine is working, right? Because it's like, y'all wanted drama, y'all got the drama. But then my question is always, at whose expense? I think it would have been, we still could have got some drama. We still could have got conflict, but I think in a more emotionally responsible way from the producers. And I think that part of it, it honestly just felt lazy to me. It felt like a cheap thrill, like, oh, we need some manufactured something, boom, you're gonna get it. But it's like, I don't know. I think it could have been a lot richer if it would have just been well thought out and more balanced.
Yeah, it's clear that the last season, it seemed like the lesson they took is that the women aren't gonna like have fun without the boys unless they're mad at the boys, right? Which is,
That's whack.
yeah, I mean, there's ways to get, as a producer, to get people in the mood for exploration without having to trigger them. Um,
Yes.
and also to be more transparent with both sides of the equation because
Yes.
this came up even a couple episodes later with Zach and Kata where Kata was like, "Oh, you came back to me, but you didn't tell me that the
Yep.
woman you were speaking to wasn't there at the
Yep.
recoupling ceremony, so you didn't even
Uh-huh.
have the opportunity to choose her." Meanwhile, we all know on the internet that producers pulled that person because she had been found to have said the N word online, and that was not brand safe for Peacock, so they pulled her. But it's clear to me, watching it very closely, that they wouldn't let Zach tell Kata that. And Kata was just like, why? And it's like, well, we know why. Um,
Well, do you think the producers wouldn't let Zach tell Kata that? I think Zach chose not to tell Kata that. I think Zach is a
mm,
snake. Because it sounds like a bunch of other people in the villa had already had that conversation. They were like, we thought you knew, because we all know. We thought you knew. You know what I'm saying? So I
mm,
really feel like that decision was on Zach trying to save his ass and trying to make it seem like, oh yeah, baby, I chose you. And it was, I had to force myself to kiss that racist white woman. Like, please.
well,
You
the
know what I'm
rumor
saying?
is the rumor is that he apparently wanted to leave with her anyway. So we'll let the alleged
He wanted to leave with Kata.
with the other woman that when she
Well,
was
I believe it. The way, I feel like the way he was showing affection with the racist trumps anything I've seen with him and Kata. Like,
yeah.
I think Kata is obsessed with him, and I think that he is obsessed with Bryce.
A lot of this for me is really just bringing up the conversation about authenticity and accountability. And like, obviously,
Yes.
this show is manufactured, but now it's like very clear to me that so many people on this show are just here to increase their follower accounts because if you don't win the $100,000, you can make that in brand sponsorships
Facts.
if you get the followers
Yep.
and your brand remains unscathed, with for some of those people it's not going to really happen for them. They might have
Uh-huh.
other ways of making money beyond brand sponsorships like cameos or whatever.
Yes, indeed. Okay. So, one thing I appreciated the discourse around was just watching. I mean, I think we have to talk about KC, right? Because that really, I think, started so many conversations around accountability and this constant back and forth around, like, did he disrespect Anaya? What exactly was the offense? Why are the girls coming at him like this? And I thought it was actually, as a chaotic as that time was, I thought it was a beautiful example of like what accountability actually requires, right? We have all these people talking online, but we're not in the villa. We're not in the casa with KC. And as much as I hated watching the girls, honestly, gang up on Casey and TT in that moment, I was really proud of them in the aftermath, right? And like how they arrived to, hey, I just want some acknowledgement here. I want acknowledgement. I would like an apology. I would like to extend an offer for repair. We don't need to date each other anymore. We don't even need to be friends. But I felt like Casey's heart posture was from a place of like, I just want to be cool. You know what I mean? I don't want there to be beef between Anaya and I. And I really watched I enjoyed watching that arc, and it made me think a lot about how you really do have to be in community with folks in order to get actual accountability. And so like if I'm online and I'm on threads or or wherever on Black Sky talking about, oh, and Casey needs da 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 da, one, I'm missing information, and there's no way that I can actually get the satisfaction of feeling like that person was held accountable. The conversation that did it for me, well, it was really a series of conversations that Casey and Anaya had directly. It was just like Casey ultimately at the end of the day is accountable to Anaya and is accountable to TT. That's it. You know what I'm saying? Like, period. And I feel like eventually they got there. And I'm proud of them. I'm proud of them. And I'm sad again. I'm sad that it took, I mean, what I would describe as bullying, even with, some a sprinkle of verbal abuse, if we want to be honest, all types of bitches and you ain't shits and you're a coward. There was a lot of name calling, I think, coming from the girls to Casey in particular. And if the roles had been reversed, oh my God. Casey honestly would have been kicked off the show if he acted the way that Anaya and Trinity acted. Period. Period. And so it's like we also have to talk about, okay, like, so where is the accountability? Who holds the girls accountable, for their behavior? And that's one thing I appreciated about TT. When she had her moment with Casey, she woke up the next morning and said, you know what? My bad. My bad. I'm tripping. I let my crazy slip out and I apologize. And to me, that is an example of self accountability, right? That can then translate into accountability within a particular group.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's complicated, right? Because there's so much gendered stuff there,
Yes.
right? The bodies that say things matter, but also when you are in your hurt and when you're not doing your own kind of self-analysis, you can hurt others, just no matter who you
Facts.
are.
Facts. Facts. Yeah. And there has to be
Yeah,
nuance, I think, for that conversation. I saw a lot of like, I'm gonna ride for my girls because they're girls, or I'm gonna ride for Black women because they're Black women. And I really do think we're at a point in society where we have to move beyond identity politics. It's like obviously everything is informed by identity, but the conversation cannot stop there. Like, you are right because you are a this, and you are wrong because you are a this. Like, it's 2026.
and, and this conversation has been coming up for several years, but I do feel like we did reach several critical heads this month, and it's feeling like we need to talk maybe about Dominique Morgan.
Let's get into it. Let's get into it.